Outside of New York City, New Jersey has some of the oldest restaurants in the United States. Sitting near the top of that list is an institution that started out as an inn way back in 1743, but has weathered more than one storm to become an icon of Mendham, the Black Horse. For those who don't know, the Black Horse Tavern and Pub is essentially the geographical and cultural center of Mendham Borough. You can't drive down Main Street without noticing the big, white, colonial-era building at the northwest corner of Mountain Avenue. I arrived in Mendham in the midst of the global pandemic. Restaurants were closing everywhere, businesses were struggling, but the Black Horse was still open, thriving even. And then I found out that it has been operating since before we even had a constitution. How is that possible? The answer has to do with consistency. The story of humanity is the story of consistency. When sad, earth-shattering events change your life, consistency sets you at ease. Sad events like funerals, happy ones like marriages, world-changing events like 9/11 or local events like a hurricane, these things all drive a need for consistency. Nowhere in Mendham is this felt more than at the Black Horse, where this town was essentially founded, where weary travelers stopped on their journey west, where a future president, whose name rhymed with George Washington, maybe stopped to discuss revolutionary matters, where a modern-day diva came for a night out with her family and enjoyed some bubbly shrimp. According to MenuTiger.com, 3 out of 5 restaurants won't make it past their first year. But somehow the Black Horse managed to beat the odds again and again and again for 275 years, making it the oldest continually operating restaurant in New Jersey. Perhaps the original proprietor, Ebenezer Byram, read this statistic from MenuTiger.com and thought, "Good sir, those facts are preposterous and must be fixed. Oh, Mendham." Welcome to Hometown History, a series about the iconic places and events that make a town someplace people call home. Stories that people can tell to their friends, old and new, about the place they live, did live, or will live. In my case, Mendham, New Jersey. And today we talk about the unique recipe that one of Mendham's iconic institutions, a tavern, inn, and pub, used to stay in business for 275 years. It started as a farmhouse. In 1743, 52-year-old Ebenezer Byram moved his large family, 5 sons and 3 daughters, from Bridgewater, Massachusetts to the backwoods of New Jersey. Now, there's no record of how many times Byram endured the phrase, "Are we there yet?" as he underwent his arduous family trip. Undoubtedly, the Byrams were relieved to arrive at their new home, a large farmhouse that was situated along an ancient Lenape trade route. Today, we call it Main Street. In the 1964 book, The Mendhams, the authors note, "It seems a mystery, as well as legend, that a man of considerable means and religious fervor should travel into a far country to set up a tavern in sparsely inhabited hills." It does sound strange, but from the little we know about Byram, perhaps it shouldn't be surprising. Byram was a devoutly religious man, civic-minded, with a pioneer's spirit. He was a risk-taker, and he was prescient about the future of his new hometown and the significance of his position within it. In 1749, just a few years after Byram arrived, Mendham was officially incorporated as a township in New Jersey. And this, my dear listeners, is perhaps what you've been waiting 5 episodes to hear about. Where does the name Mendham come from? Well, there are several different theories. Some have said that it was the Anglo-Saxon term for my home. Another source claimed that the words I'll Mendham were spoken by Reverend Eliab Byram in reference to some unruly customers at his father's tavern. But the most likely origin story is that it was named after Byram's ancestral home in Mendham, England, or perhaps borrowed from a town close to Bridgewater, Massachusetts named Mendham. But if it were up to me, I'd prefer to believe option 2. Byram converted his farmhouse into an inn, naming it the Black Horse, which metaphorically and literally put Mendham on the map. The inn became the township's center, sitting at the crossroads of 2 popular trade routes, one from Morristown, New Jersey to eastern Pennsylvania, and another south to what would become Bernards Township. At the onset of the American Revolution, Mendham was a small but thriving little village. As travelers underwent the journey from New York to Pennsylvania by horse and carriage, they would stop at the Black Horse Inn, the political, legal, and social center of the community, where one could hear all the local news and gossip. The inn was not just a meeting place, but also a place you could enjoy a pint of applejack or a glug of whiskey if you so wished. As innkeeper, Byram quite creatively used a dinner bell to silence unruly drinkers. A bell to the head was sufficient to quiet the most enthusiastic patrons. Legend has it that one boisterous fellow he laid out muttered afterwards that he got what was coming to him, but he sure did hate being dingle-dongled. Inside the inn, customers sat at large, round, wooden tables, good for general conversation and singing. A second room was fitted with gleaming brass spittoons and rocking chairs for the local philosophers. Legend has it that just after the Revolution, state tax collectors arrived at the Black Horse to harass delinquent taxpayers. As the story goes, instead of turning up with their money, the citizens of Mendham brought clubs to the barroom and threatened to use them, and the tax collectors departed in a hurry. Throughout the 17 and 1800s, as more and more travelers and goods passed through Mendham, Ebenezer Byram's Black Horse Inn was transformed to the gambrel-roofed, federal-style structure you see today.
So were you Mendhamites?
This spring, my producer Katie and I got a chance to go inside the building that was once the Black Horse Inn, now called the Tavern. Since 2020, the tavern has been closed to regular customers and is only used for private events.
Oh, it's actually pretty nice in here.
I don't know where all the lights are. That's the problem. All right, well, I guess we'll just sit over here.
Kathleen Rem has been a server at the Black Horse for 37 years.
We came out from Long Island. We actually came through Morristown. It was springtime. And all the little cherry blossom, the trees, it was beautiful. And I was like, oh, maybe it won't be so bad to move to Jersey. And then we came out and we drove through Mendham. I said, oh my God, I love this town. It's so pretty. And I needed to get a job. And everyone said, if you could get in the Black Horse, that's the top restaurant around here. And I thought, oh God, I got to get in there.
Inside the tavern, we found the fixtures of many modern restaurants. Plush carpets, upholstered chairs. Along the back wall, drinking glasses glitter behind a shiny wooden bar. But the age of the interior is also immediately apparent. The creaks of the floorboard, the unevenness of the stairs leading up to low, ceilinged hallways. I'm 6'3". I struggle to walk around.
Just be careful because these steps are a little steep.
The doorways on the second floor all lead to office space for the restaurant, but it's easy to imagine a time when guests occupied these little rooms.
Yeah, this is the real old building.
The Black Horse is actually two distinct structures. There's the tavern, where we're meeting with Kathleen, and the pub, which is where the restaurant is today. But it used to be a horse stable.
That's where they kept the horses. Mm-hmm. And someone said that they knew somebody that lived a few blocks away. And when the people wanted to leave, they put a light out and someone would go up the stairs to the top of the house, wait for the light, and then come down and help them with the horses.
Kathleen is full of these little bits of Black Horse trivia. She's basically a walking encyclopedia of stories about this place. But to paint a full picture of the history of the Black Horse requires piecing memories from patrons and staff together with documents we found in the Mendham Borough Library archives. Which wasn't much. This is a business after all, not a museum. This is what we did find. Ebenezer Byram died in 1753, just 10 years after making his mark on Mendham. At one point, William Phoenix became a proprietor of the inn before opening up the Phoenix House right across the street. Over the next 2 centuries, the inn passed through many hands. There was George S. Beavers, who held it for 49 years from 1874 to 1923, and Roy L. Vallette, who owned it from 1923 to 1958 before selling it to Sam Fornero of Sammy's Ye Old Cider Mill. In 1964, it was sold again to Elliot Kepler Jr. and then to Anthony Knapp in 1965. The Knapp family's tenure as the owner of the Black Horse is probably most memorable for longtime Mendham residents. Throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the Black Horse was the site of some of the most elegant dining you could find in New Jersey. Its interior was bathed in Victorian decor. A live pianist entertained customers in the Red Room, named for its curtains, wallpaper, and carpeting. In the Tiffany Room, diners basked in the subtle glow of Tiffany chandeliers and beaded hangings popular at the turn of the century. The Dickens Room was decorated with paintings of characters from the works of Charles Dickens hung on walls paneled in ancient barn siding. In 1968, a patron of the Black Horse could enjoy an appetizer of vichyssoise, clams, or shrimp cocktail, followed by an entree of prime sirloin, filet mignon, or veal cutlet parmesan. The roast duckling was a regular menu item, with one reviewer commenting, "Not dry, delicious with stuffing of apples and a Bing cherry sauce." The sirloin cost $7.20, and clams on a half shell were 95 cents each. A house specialty for two, called the wharf platter, included lobster tails, crab legs, scallops, shrimp, clams, filet of sole, French fries, and garden fresh slaw. It took 25 minutes to prepare and cost, wait for it, $9.95. I love inflation. The Black Horse Inn, renamed the Tavern in later years, provided consistently good food and drinks, just like a Chili's. However, unlike Chili's, you had to dress to impress.
There used to be a dress code way back. So we'd be sitting, like looking out the window. A car would pull up, and people would get out, and the guy would have a jacket on, and the lady would be all dolled up.
So what was it that kept people coming back to the Black Horse, year after year, decade after decade? Was it the air of elegance, the Tiffany chandeliers, the $7 steak and clams? No, it was none of these, Kathleen says.
There's something in those four walls. It's not in here. It's next door.
Wait, next door at the pub?
You go into the pub, it's like a hug, I feel like. It's like a big hug.
The Black Horse Pub, the space that once used to be a stable, was for decades the more family-friendly side of the restaurant, where, in the 1960s, you could leave the black tie at home and come get a pint and a 75-cent burger.
We're gonna go this direction.
Now, the more I thought about Kathleen's very apt description, this idea that the pub is a hug, the more I realized that there are actually two types of hugs. The one you want and the one you need. And the Black Horse offers you both. It's great to have a hug when you've already had a great day. That's the one you want to have. Birth of a child, high school graduation. It's Karaoke Tuesday. And the Black Horse had plenty of those, featuring some pretty special guests.
Whitney Houston, she wanted to take this place over when she was marrying Bobby Brown.
Yeah, you heard that right. Whitney freaking Houston. The voice herself. Longtime Mendham residents won't be surprised to hear that Miss Houston and her family were residents of Mendham for a bit. She was the local celebrity in town, and every hometown needs a local celebrity.
So she offered Mr. Knapp, a sum to take over the whole property for her wedding. He said no, because, well, what would happen to my other customers that came here? And then they'd find out that they couldn't eat here that night. And we were all like, what?
Kathleen can tell these stories all day.
Bobby Brown used to come in, and he'd just have a bud and garlic clams, like say 8 big giant lobsters. So, the kids loved the pecan pie that we had here. But I did hear that it was her birthday. So what I did was, another time they were in the bar, and everybody was coming in. It was a busy night. So I just went up. It was my table, and I said, excuse me, but they're on their private time. They're eating dinner with their family.
Okay, just one more.
They wanted to be under the radar. So she sat way in the back, and I remember she kind of dressed like nothing fancy, and she had like a hat pulled down.
That night, there happened to be Entertainment, a singer who, at that moment, was covering one of Houston's hits.
So then you hear Whitney go, and the girl that was singing, she got kind of like froze. And then after, she said to me, Kathleen, where is she? And I told her, and she went over and she said, I am so embarrassed to sing your song in your presence. And meanwhile, she was like, no, you did a great job.
When times are good, the Black Horse Pub provides a place where you can celebrate the wins and cement them in your memory to revisit them later on. Those are the good hugs, the hugs you want. But the hugs you need may be more important. Those are the hugs that have a deeper meaning, the hugs associated with funerals or hurricanes or national tragedies.
There's a funeral home over here, Bailey's Funeral Home, and one time this couple came in on a Saturday, and I was just waiting on them. I didn't even get into a conversation with them or anything. And when they left, the man grabbed me and he goes, "Thank you." And I said, "Oh, for what?" And he said, "Our daughter died, and we just went and picked out a coffin for her. And we said to Tom, that's the funeral director, oh, we haven't eaten. I don't know when." And he said, "Go to the pub." Another story, 9/11. Okay, so 9/11 happens, and I'm supposed to work. It was a Tuesday night. I was supposed to be here, at 4:30. So I said, I don't want to go to work. I don't. And my husband said, "Kathleen, I think you should go to work because your customers are going to need you." And I thought, well, who's going to come into the restaurant? Who's going to come? I come in and there's nobody in the restaurant. And we have TVs, and all the TVs are on the news. Everyone's just stunned. We're just looking at the TV, and, people start coming in. And just slowly, the whole restaurant filled up. It was packed. Nobody was really talking. Everybody was just hugging each other and murmuring whatever little knowledge they had. They said to me, we just had to come to the pub. We just had to be together. And my husband was right. People needed you.
This culture of service is baked into the institution. It's core to how they operate and serve the community. And it goes to the very top.
The present owner, the Scotto family, Anthony Scotto, came in with his whole family and sat on the floor in front of the fireplace there. Ben and Anthony are the key people. The brothers, they can come in, they know everybody's name. They know things about my family. And they have 450 restaurants, pizzerias and all kinds of, but they know people.
As of the airing of this episode, the Black Horse, the tavern, and the pub are closed for renovation until the fall. And when the Black Horse opens its doors, there's no question that Mendham residents will be there to fill it. History shows that they're some of the most loyal customers in New Jersey.
Oh, the fall's packed. There's a lot of great farms around here. It's a tradition. We come every year to get our pumpkins. And people will say, "We're back again," and they'll have 12 people at a table, and they'll have a new baby. "Oh, this is the new baby we had since last year," and I'll be like, "Oh, yeah." Now people make this is like a destination.
Only a few places operating today can claim, accurately, to be older than the country itself. Getting into the business of restaurants is hard, and staying is even harder. So how did the Black Horse manage it? This is the recipe. Number 1, it offered good food in an enticing atmosphere. Whether it was vichyssoise by the light of a Tiffany chandelier or a beer at the bar, the Black Horse had what you were looking for. Number 2, it evolved, but only just enough. Number 3, luck. Who could say where the Black Horse would be without the prescience of Ebenezer Byram, the commitment of Anthony Knapp, or the hospitality of someone like Kathleen Rem? And finally, number 4, offering a hug or two doesn't hurt. This episode was written and produced by Ryan Ross and Katie Feather. It was mixed and edited by Katie Feather. Our theme music is La Dance Timide by Howard Harper Barnes. Special thanks to Kathleen Rem and Kevin Felice. Additional research help from Ernie Ma and Helen Wall. For more information, visit our website, hometownhistorynj.com.